Hi, my name is Mucha and I've written a book called We Need to Talk About Love. I interviewed hundreds of strangers in more than 40 countries across every continent, and those strangers were aged 8 to 95. And then I researched what came up in the interviews. So the book explores love through a combination of story and science. Who do I want to read the book? I want people who are single and looking for love, people who are single and not looking for love, people who are in happy relationships, people who are in unhappy relationships. So basically everyone. Why do I want you to read this book? Because love is a fascinating, universal, visceral topic that all of us have opinions on, and yet many common beliefs and cliches are totally, utterly wrong. Let me give you an example. A common belief is that if you have doubts, your relationship isn't right. I thought that for a while, and I used it as a reason to break up with lots of people, including my current husband. But if you have an avoidant attachment pattern, you are likely to have doubts about everyone you date. Those doubts may have more to do with you than the other person. As one of my interviewees, Alexandru from Romania, said, the way he related to people was broken, so he could have met Beyonce and still found faults. I'll give you another example. People from around the world, from South Korea to France, China to Colombia, talked about the pressure to partner up before a certain age. And the idea that if you didn't, that meant somehow you weren't good enough to be chosen. Tammy in China, for example, described how people who didn't have a partner are called shangnu or shangnan, which means leftover girls or leftover boys. Brutal! But research suggests there's an advantage to taking your time. Based on all marriages in England and Wales in 1976, 53% of women who married when they were 20 or under divorced within 30 years, compared to only 23% of 30 to 34-year-olds and 7% of 45 to 49-year-olds. In other words, the older they were when they got married, the less likely they were to divorce, at least within 30 years. One more example. In a US study, 88% of 20 to 29-year-old single people thought that somewhere out there was a soulmate just waiting for them. But not only does that make no mathematical or logical sense, what if your soulmate lives halfway across the world and is in their 90s when you're in the UK and you're in your teens, but it also misrepresents love. Love is not about finding the right person. Obviously you have to choose wisely, but you also have to learn how to love. The sort of love that makes long-term relationships last isn't something that happens to you. It's something that you choose, something that you work on, something that requires skill, understanding, and effort. I talk about some difficult things in the book, like divorce and death, because I think in order to talk about love, I have to talk about when it ends, because it will. But I always try to provide hope. I wrote my final chapter on death while in the depths of grief myself, and the words of Morris, a 95-year-old poet who was married for 65 years and 49 days, will never, ever leave me. He said, the grief has lessened ever so much, and I accept it. I'm not afraid of it. It will come out sometimes, and I will grab it, because otherwise nothing would have been worthwhile or true. It means it was real. I think deep, intimate, meaningful love, whether romantic or not, is one of the greatest joys we can experience as humans, despite the fact that it can and will come to an end. My aim in writing this book is to help you, and also me, make better decisions when it comes to love.